Across the country, first responders are mapping opioid overdoses in real time. Now, a new state law just passed will make it mandatory to report cases across Texas. KXAN investigators have detailed concerns over lack of tracking overdoses, specifically fentanyl-related deaths, for years. As investigator Overdoses explains, less than a dozen agencies already voluntarily use this mapping tool in Central Texas, but the new law aims to expand that.
What we're looking here is we're looking at a heat map.
It's a real-time snapshot of overdoses. The diamond shapes mean deaths. The dots, a second chance.
Every one of these dots on a map is somebody who is struggling, somebody who is only moments away from dying.
Lake Travis Fire Rescue has been using the Overdose Detection Mapping Application Program, or ODMAP, for about a year. The software tracks and reports overdoses, fatal or not, and if Narcan was used.
It allows us to take this data from our partners and put it in real time to see the impact on a community, to see where we can assign social services, where we can assign possibly in the future pre-staging Narcan locations where people can have public access to Narcan, in addition to also seeing if there is a stream of supply of opioids or fentanyl coming into a certain area.
For Chief Robert Abbott, this is personal.
My son Kyle was a victim of the fentanyl crisis.
In 2021, his assistant fire chief lost his son to a fentanyl overdose.
I got a call. My wife, she said, Michael, I can't wake Kyle up. All I could think about was my wife was about to have to try to resuscitate her son. The same way I've tried to resuscitate people for years, and it's not pretty.
The department started raising awareness through PSAs about the tragic losses and the need to better track overdoses. Data shared with us shows since 2020, the number of suspected overdoses in the community has gone up 35%.
While it may not have been at the rate that you may see in other communities, we did see a higher than average reported overdose data. And to respond to that, we needed to know better what our neighbors were responding to as well.
But we've had 4 ODs in the last 24 hours in our community.
Abbott testified this past session in support of legislation to mandate using the software statewide. It was signed into law by Governor Abbott last month. Texas is now among 10 states with similar requirements.
We need to be able to measure where overdoses are occurring. We know it's happening far too often across our state, but we need to be able to see, if there's a concentration in a specific geographic area within a certain length of time, then that tells public health officials, first responders, law enforcement that there's some issue going on there, and we need to intervene before there's more overdoses.
State Representative Chris Turner, who authored the House bill, says he was initially concerned about privacy and making sure it's protected.
This database is not going to include names. It's not even going to include exact addresses. In no way is going to jeopardize anyone's personal privacy. That's the last thing we would want to do.
We're trying to save lives.
It's a tool Abbott says has helped his first responders. He adds, now that it's required by law, the impact will be more wide-reaching.
Ultimately, we want to see all those dots go away because that does represent a significant problem.
Overdoses, KXAN investigates.
ODMAP is already funded by the federal government, so there is no additional cost. You have to be an authorized user to be able to access the system, which includes public health officials, law enforcement, and first responders. The Texas Harm Reduction Alliance was listed as against the legislation during the Senate hearing. Now, we have reached out for a better understanding as to why they oppose the legislation, but have not heard back just yet. The law goes into effect on September the 1st.